Welcome to Canucks After Dark. Here are your hosts, Parker Hallowell and Clay Emo.
Good evening, Vancouver. 10 p.m. on a Monday. As always, Canucks After Dark is back live and here for another fun night of Vancouver Canucks talk. After the end of a long, grueling 6-game road trip to start the season, the Vancouver Canucks are back home tomorrow night, Tuesday night, against the Minnesota Wild. As always, joined by my co-host, Canuck Clay. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm almost doing as well as the Canucks are doing. Happy with how they did. But a good week. I was at a friend's wedding on the weekend and did a bit of studying, did a bit of streaming. And how about you, my friend?
I'm doing well. And you say it was a good week, but it started off pretty shaky, especially after the Canucks go into Buffalo and put up a tragic performance. I guess you could say 2 points that they left on the board that in a game that they probably should have a team they should have beat. Without Jack Eichel and just how bad the Buffalo Sabres are. But the Canucks come out with 2 big wins later on in the week, and they have a tough few games coming up here with Minnesota, Philadelphia, and a host of others on a 7-game homestand. So we've got a bunch of stuff to talk about tonight. We've got some Travis Hamonic updates. We've got the 3 games to recap over the last week. We've got some games to preview over the next week. We'll give you our favorite players of this last week, our worst players of this last week or the season so far, and all the usual stuff. You guys know the deal. Clay, is there anywhere you want to start today?
Maybe I always confuse myself when we go backwards. So let's start at the furthest game back that we were planning to talk about then.
All right, let's go all the way back to last Tuesday. We're starting off on a sad note against the Buffalo Sabres. And this one was a rough game. Do you want to give us sort of a quick recap of this one?
This was Tuesday night, right? So I caught some of it before I went bowling, and then I was in a bad mood for my bowling match, but at least I wasn't playing against a slow guy like 2 weeks ago. But that's another story. I'm over that. Not good. The Canucks looked flat. It was just a bad game. It was just a bad game overall. The Buffalo, a lot of young legs, a lot of speed, but they had a lot of no-name guys. You're right, no Eichel, a lot of no-name guys who were making our name guys not look so good. I can't remember the game that well because I had it on the side, and I know I wasn't happy. I don't know about you.
It was a pretty rough performance. We just had 2 goals in the first period. Canucks were up 2-1 after 1, and then everything just sort of fell apart. Shots in this game ended up being 43-34, allowing 43 shots against the Buffalo Sabres. And this isn't showing me like the period by period shots, but if I remember correctly, like I think the second period was just a blowout in favor of the Buffalo Sabres. And it was a game that sort of sparked some panic. Everyone was like, some people were, it's only, we're only 4 games into the season. But another, people like me were saying, well, you shouldn't be playing this bad against Buffalo. And the Canucks need to come out against Chicago, against Seattle, and put on some much better performances because this one was frankly terrible, especially, some people, you might say they're in the middle of a road trip, 6-game road trip. It's tough sledding, all this travel, but they had just had 2 days off. They're going into Buffalo, which had to have had like 4,000 people in the arena at most. It was dead in there, but the Canucks kind of got blown out by the Buffalo Sabres, but they rebounded when they had to. Thursday night against the Chicago Blackhawks, they go out and they put up a much better performance, taking this game 4-1.
Yeah, that Buffalo game, that was the one that Quinn Hughes missed, right?
Yes, that was the one game without Quinn Hughes, and it showed that he was missing.
Yes. So thankfully, and that was kind of concerning because they had a full day off on the Sunday. Then he didn't skate on the Monday, maintenance day. But who has a maintenance day 3 games in the season, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
well, you've already played 90 minutes almost, I guess.
Very true. So yeah, it wasn't the best look, concerning, but thankfully he came back and he was back to his fine skating self on the Thursday night, and they all played well on Thursday, obviously with the 4-1 victory. And it's not like they dominated though. I think Chicago had their moments, but that team, they haven't led, I think, the entire season. Isn't that the weird stat?
That is true. That is an NHL record. They have not led so far this season. This was a good game. So we started off with a Jason Dickinson goal about 6.5 minutes in. That was a beautiful shot. Really nice play. Matthew Highmore started this one. And I've been impressed with Highmore so far. But him and Höglander did a little passing play. Dickinson basically out in the slot, fired at top corner. A beautiful goal. Blackhawks came back and answered to make it 1-1 after one. But then the Canucks looked pretty good. We had a Tanner Pearson goal that he really deserved. This is the one where Tanner Pearson basically stood in front of the net for like 60 seconds, got beat up for the entire time, and then scored a well-earned goal. Then we got a Brock Besser goal on the power play. The one time Brock Besser ended up on power play 1, because I remember Chason was at the end of a shift. So they put Besser out with the first power play unit, and he scores, and then they haven't gone back to that yet. And then we got the famous Conor Garland empty netter, where he pushed it forward all the way into the net.
Yes, a great speed shown by Garland, great determination shown by him. It's interesting you mentioned that Besser power play goal, Parker, because Miller and Pettersson got assists on that goal, but that's a power play goal. It still counts, obviously very important, but I'm sure we're going to get to this. The Lotto line has not looked good at evens. So that was a power play goal, but at evens, they're chasing down the puck. They're not the best at retrieving the puck. And I know it's early. It's early for PD. Besser is rusty, but yeah, thank God they have other lines going right now. That's for sure.
Yeah. And the real guy has been Conor Garland. And we'll get to that when we get to our sort of stars of the week shortly here. Sure. And then the Canucks travel from there after getting a 4-1 win. They're 2-2-1 at that point on the season. So right at 500, going to Seattle. And this was a game that I'm looking at and I'm thinking, if they're going to lose a game, this is it, right? You're going into a new team's home opener, a team that hasn't looked good. This is like all the makings of a game that the Canucks just get crushed in for no real reason. But they go out and they actually put on a pretty good show, taking it 4-2. Sort of spoiling the party at the brand new Climate Pledge Arena.
Yeah, nice arena, double screens. That's kind of weird to see. And,
yeah, the two triangles. I think it looks cool.
And then the fact that you go 4 stories down from ground level, so that's pretty crazy too. But yeah, I love what you said, Parker. The Canucks withstood the early hype. Of course, you're getting excited. It's your first, not just home opener for the season, your first home game ever, right? So that was they withstood that. The only 2 goals to beat Demko were from defensemen. So Seattle forwards didn't score, and one of them deflected off our own guy in Kyle Burrows. So Demko, among others, was one of the stars of the night. And I just love Horvat scoring both game time goals, and then we saw that amazing individual effort by Conor Garland again to pot the eventual game winner. It was really good. It was a really good effort. And it was one of those where you're just kind of proud to be a Canucks fan. I don't know. I didn't need them to bury Seattle, but you want to start off well, especially after losing them twice in the preseason, albeit preseason games.
Yeah, the Canucks started this one pretty well.
Yeah.
They go out and they get a sort of bad break. Vince Dunn scores with 4 seconds left, less than 4 seconds left in the first period. And those are the ones that deflate teams going into the intermission, right? 4 seconds more and that goal doesn't count. But they come back and they're terrible in the second period.
Yeah, they looked deflated, didn't they?
The Canucks go it was over 16 minutes without a shot at one point in this game. But they held on. They didn't allow any goals during that time, except the Vince Dunn goal, I guess, was part of that stretch. But then the first shot after that 16-minute stretch is Bo Horvat with just a hard shot 5-hole that ties the game at 1. Mark Giordano then gives Seattle the lead, and the captain stepping up for them. And then the Canucks captain again, Bo Horvat, coming up with another big goal in this one, which would tie the game at 2. And then it's the Conor Garland show. He comes out and off of an absolutely abysmal shift by Elias Pettersson, the worst stretch of the worst 60 seconds of hockey that he's played in a Canucks uniform, I think, where he has 2 or 3 really bad giveaways, and somehow the Canucks survive it. The puck gets cleared out. Conor Garland does it all himself, ends up just getting a step on the defender, and this half slap, half fake shot that gets past Grubauer totally fools him. The big celebration after staring down the fan that was talking trash. He was the hero of this one. But the play that we've gotten here from Garland, from Demko, and all the kept the Canucks in that game and got them the win.
And I'm not going to sit here and say that we told you so about Conor Garland. We were kind of both. We knew he was kind of good. We looked at his stat line, looked pretty good, but I think we'd admit we didn't know a lot about him. I know Thomas Drance was talking a lot about him even before the Canucks made that trade, saying, if you're going to go after OEL, you got to get them to throw in a guy like Conor Garland. And then I know I've tweeted about this. I know you've talked about it too. I didn't know nothing about him. So I just put up a highlight package back in the summer. I was like, wow, this guy's really good. He's not afraid to go to the net. He's small. He's fast. And he's tied for our leading scorer with JT Miller, 8 points in 6 games. It's not a fluke. These are hard working, hard earned goals. It's not like second assists that anyone can pick up. These are primary assists or goals. He's been awesome. He's been awesome.
Yeah. Points in every game so far for Conor Garland, 8 points in those 6 games. An absolute difference maker. And he's been getting, like you said, it's not just like, he's been like deflecting a puck over. I think there was 1 assist where that's basically what he did. That sort of kept that streak alive. But he's always having some sort of impact, whether it's the Detroit game, causing drama with Zadina, whether it's, coming out here and getting a nice setup on the Horvat goal and then getting the winner. He has been just an absolute monster out there, and very excited to have him in a Canucks uniform for the foreseeable future, making less than $5 million. He's probably on like a 100-point pace. What is that? He is on a 109-point pace. So he's definitely going to keep that up. Conor Garland, 110 points. Go bet the over. That's free money.
It's funny. He's been called an elf. He's been called MIDGET. He's been fingered. Someone gave him the royal finger. So he's a bit of a poop disturber, right? And he's very and we love it. We love those kind of guys. And he's unlike a Matt Cook or a Rafi Torres. He's also someone who can answer from an offensive standpoint. So I think, he's already a fan favorite. And I love how you mentioned the contract, 4.95, whatever, 5 years. Demko at 5 years at 5. So maybe our 2 best players this season, and we have them for $5 million each. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and one thing I was talking about, which I have a banner here for, if we want to get into the talk of the goaltender, Thatcher Demko, I think, is already underpaid, which is crazy. He is 6 games into a new contract, 5 years, $5 million per, and he's criminally underpaid at this point. I think he's got a 924, 926 something already. I think it's a 924 so far this season in the 5 games, 3-1-1, 159 saves. And he's played the most minutes out of any goalie in the NHL so far, has the most saves, I think he's like top 10 in save percentage. And he has just been so good. And we saw it in this game against Seattle, especially where you look at it and you're like, oh, he allowed 2 goals. It's a fine game. But some of the saves he made where they were just last ditch efforts to stretch the pad out to the far post. I think there was 2 exactly like that. There was the one shot, I think it was Appleton's shot on the breakaway that got through him. And then he reached back and swept it off the goal line at the last moment. Just things like that have been absolutely phenomenal for Demko. And 25 years old, turning 26 in about a month and a half. And he's already just underpaid.
I love what you said about underpaid. And it's funny because when he signed that contract, you and I both said he might not live up to it in the first 1 or 2 years, but this is going to look really good 3, 4, 5 years in. No, this is good. Like right now, I think.
Yeah. Well, if you looked at our sample size, right? Like we had the bubble to look back on, and last year he played, last year was his first year as a starter. Put up a 915, which is really good, especially with the defense he was behind. But it's 1 year of a sample size. He only played something like 70 NHL games going into this contract, right? That's really not a lot. But there's no reason to doubt him. He looks so solid, especially, we saw Halak get a little bit of ice time in the first week, and he looked a little bit shaky. And then you compare that to just how solid Thatcher Demko looks. He's not panicking. There's not a lot of movement there. He's just always square to the shooter. And he's absolutely just been phenomenal.
I've said many times, both on here and my own stuff, that I heard Canucks management say they had Luongo type hopes for him when they drafted him. And you say, well, that's, comparing him to arguably the best goaltender in Canucks history, that's a bit of a stretch, but I can see it. Mm-hmm. Who knows what kind of playoff success he will or won't have. It's not just about him. It's about the team, but his demeanor, his how calm he is, I guess that's demeanor, how athletic he is for his size. There's a lot to like there for sure.
Mm-hmm. Another thing is I get scared by goalies. I don't trust them. And the prime example lately has been Carter Hart in Philadelphia, who the Canucks take on in a couple of days here. I think on Thursday they play Philadelphia.
Yeah, I heard he's not playing though. I was talking to a buddy. Apparently Hart's playing Wednesday night in Edmonton. They've already named it. So unfortunately, we won't get to see him on Thursday.
Yeah, because he's looked bad, right? And he was this prized first round pick who looked like he was going to be the next star of the league. And then he's already 23 and he's already gone from being a really good number one goalie to being one of the worst goalies in the league. And he's 2 years younger than Demko at this point. So that's why I get scared by goalies a little bit, because you can't really trust them. They go all over the place, right? You get guys like Andrew Raycroft who look like they're going to be a star. Or there's so many names that you can go back on, and not everyone's going to be a guy like Vasilevsky, who is just one of the best for years and years and years. But everything that we've seen so far from Demko shows that he is going to be a star for years and years and years to come.
Are you a goalie guy, Parker? Do you study goalies? Do you love goalies or not?
Not really. I know like the basic stuff. Like being square to the shot is like the main one. And that's why, like, when I ever do like a film analysis with a goalie or there's like a save, it's like, look at where his chest is pointing. That's the biggest thing, right? Because if your chest is square with the puck, it's a lot easier to make a save. We saw like Carter Hart in that game against the Canucks, just shots going in from everywhere because he wasn't square to the shooter. He was cheating early. I'm not really a goalie guy, but I kind of get the basics.
You're right. Carter Hart was opposite of a square. He's more like a rhombus or something. He was not good.
I don't even know how to answer that. I don't know how to respond to that.
I don't even know what a rhombus is. It just sounds good.
All right, let's get into to sort of continue our breakdown of the last week. Let's get into the stars of the week. We've already touched on Garland a bit. We've already touched on Demko. Would you say those are your top two for this week?
Yeah, and I'd add in third. I'd say Bo. I think Bo's been really good. He's especially in that last game, of course, against Seattle. But I think overall he's been good. JT Miller's got more points. JT Miller also turns the puck. Actually, Horvat was making a couple of turnovers, actually, now that I think about it. But overall, I remember that one really weak backhand he did his own zone. But I think Horvat's been really good, actually. So those would be my three guys. I like Ekman Larson a lot, too. But yeah, those would be my three.
All right. Yeah, so in my post-game shows, I gave out game pucks after every game to who I thought was the best. Yeah. This last game I gave out 3, which I never do, but it was Demko, Horvat, Garland, because they were the best 3 players on the ice. The game against the Blackhawks, I gave it to Brock Besser because I thought he had a really solid game in Chicago. And then the Sabres game, which the Canucks were terrible, I actually gave it to Justin Dowling because I think he was actually impressive. And Justin Dowling's actually been getting some surprising amount of ice time. I think he played. He was like only like 5th last game, if I can guess correctly, in ice time. He played almost 15 minutes, while guys like Chason played 10, Highmore played 12, Höglander played 12. He played 40 seconds less than Tanner Pearson did, or 2 minutes less than Conor Garland. So Justin Dowling is getting some trust from the coaching staff, and he got an empty net goal.
There was a time, Parker, you might remember, it was either at the end of the second or start of third, where Dowling was playing with Besser and Miller and Petey. And it wasn't because Petey needed to lift up the play of Highmore and Höglander. It was they needed Höglander and Highmore to lift up Petey's game. It was so strange that he was, in essence, demoted to the third line.
Yeah, they had to shake things up with Petey. And I guess that kind of takes us into our strugglers of the week. And the obvious one has been Elias Pettersson. I think he's been basically kept off the score sheet, right? He has, how many points does he have?
I think he's got 3 and 6, I think.
But it's 3 assists, right? So he's
got 1 goal.
He's got 1 goal. 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points for Elias Pettersson so far. But yeah, he has not looked like himself. And I can go back to this one shift, the one shift that Conor Garland scored on, where he just tried to do too much, didn't make the easy play, kept giving the puck up. And it's really looked like that a lot so far. And after the Sabres game, I was asked about it in my chat, and I said, I'm not worried. Elias Pettersson's too good to be worried about it, right? He always, like, he has too much skill for this slump to last forever, right? And I said the same thing after the Sabres game, or after the Blackhawks game. And then after this one, I'm starting to get a little more nervous because, look, having 3 or 4 bad games is fine. But once your best player starts having 6 bad games, if it goes to 7, 8, 9 bad games, eventually this is going to start costing the team points, right?
Right.
If the Canucks lose a game by 1 and it's because Elias Pettersson got nothing going offensively and maybe made a mistake defensively that led to a goal, it's not like this is a team that's going to finish with 107 points this year, right? This is a team that is going to be shooting for around that 94, 95 mark to squeak into the playoffs. So every point is going to matter. I still have faith. Elias Pettersson is still, in my opinion, too good of a player to go on a long slump, but it needs to turn around quick.
Yeah. Do you put stock at, is it a fair, not even an excuse, is it a fair reason to say he missed more than half of last year? He missed training camp. He's still shaking off his rust, given that he's played 6 games in the last 8 months.
I think that's somewhat fair. So yeah, he hasn't played since March, basically. However, there's been a lot of time to practice. And again, I still think his skill is there. I feel like you drop off a little, but I don't think you drop off that much, right? Because I think a lot of it has been decision-making that's been bad. It hasn't been a lot of physical stuff, in my opinion, like lack of skill. There has been a couple like bobbles, but I don't know. I think it's fair, but at some point it's got to click. Because again, not like the team's getting a lot of practice time, right? They'll get more now being at home, but it needs to start working.
And it's so subjective, right? Do you say, well, we're 6 games in, let's give him to 8, or is it 9, or is it 12? Yeah, but you're right. I think for me, halfway through this homestand, we're at the 10-game mark. So he's got to be moving by then. He's got to be. Otherwise, you're 12% of the season done already. It's crazy.
Yeah. You will start running out of games quicker than you think, right? It's almost November, right? We're a week away from November. And then, you start getting into some big games, right? I don't think the Canucks have a lot of big games coming up, like at least like they play the Oilers, which is big, but I think most people, there's a lot of projections that have the Oilers like second in the division. So it's maybe not the spot the Canucks are pushing for. But then they got the Rangers, the Predators, the Stars, the Ducks, the Avalanche, the Golden Knights, the Ducks, the Avalanche, the Jets, just going down the list. The Canucks don't really have any divisional matchups other than this Oilers game until they got the Kings in December. They got Sharks in December. They got the Kraken in December. The Canucks, most are playing a lot of Eastern teams coming up here and a lot of Central teams as well. So I guess if there are games to struggle in, these are, I guess, the ones, because they're not going to be as impactful in the standings. But yeah, eventually, things got to start working out.
So if there's any game ever to win in overtime or shootout, it's these games against the non-division teams.
Yeah. These are games that you can play for. You can play for a tie against the Flyers and the Wild, and get a point and get out. But yeah, I mean, looking at the standings the way they are right now, right? I mean, you got the Oilers at 5-0. That's not going to last, but they'll be up there. But the Golden Knights are 1-4, and I expect them to work it out and start to move up. So it's gonna be the Oilers, it's gonna be the Flames, it's gonna be maybe the Kraken if they can step it up. I don't think so. But there are gonna, the Canucks are gonna have to start getting wins, and Elias Pettersson's gonna have to be a part of that, because they can't stick around 500 all season if they want to be a playoff team.
That's true. Exactly. And we've talked about 500 on the road's fine, but you got to be way better than 500 at home. Otherwise, you can be 500, and you're not going to make
exactly
82 points. Not going to make it.
Speaking of strugglers of the week, I do want to talk about special teams a little bit, because special teams has been not good. We had the power play that has looked so stale already. So static is kind of the word I'm looking for. And again, I always go back to looking at Edmonton's power play because it's so dynamic and exciting. I think on paper, the Canucks power play is actually doing okay now, because I think they went 1 for 4 in the last game. But it hasn't looked good at all.
Yeah, this chase on Parker, talk me into this chase on experiment on the first power play unit.
Want me to talk to you? You want me to sell you?
Yeah, well, someone's got to.
I don't know. I think to me it feels like the focus is okay. We're building around Chason's main purpose is being a net front guy in the power play, and that is the only place that he can play. So it feels like they're shoehorning him into that spot because that's sort of what he does. And the result of that is having guys like Brock Besser on your second power play. And again, we saw Brock Besser on power play 1 for 15 seconds and he scores.
Yes.
Maybe he is better in tight in front of the net because he can shoot the puck a little bit better. And, I don't get it. I can't sell you on it. It doesn't make any sense to me.
And I think, are you looking for Chason's leadership, veteran-wise? Outside the power play? No, I don't think you need it. You have enough veterans
the power
already.
play. You don't need a guy to be hurrah out there on the ice on the power play.
Yeah. But you're right. As soon as they put Besser on that, guess who's on the ice when Horvat scored that game-tying goal on the power play? It was Besser he didn't get an assist, but he was one who actually who it was weird. The puck, it kind of looped up and then it went Miller, Hughes, Horvat, I think, or something in that order, because I know Hughes and Miller got the assist. But you're right. As soon as Besser gets back on PP1, things happen. But they practiced today with Chason on PP1 and Besser on PP2 today. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Canucks are at 21.7%, which is fine. It's 15th in the NHL, dead average. It's not Vegas, who is at 0% on the power play, but it's also not Edmonton. You know what Edmonton's power play percentage is? If you had to guess, what do you think Edmonton's power play is at?
Well, only because you're talking in such super, but even if it's 30 or 35%, that's really good.
It's 47.
That's not even fair.
No, so they have 47.1% of the power play, 88.2% on the PK. So they are just absolutely crushing special teams.
Wow.
And that results in having a +10 goal differential 5 games in, scoring an average of 4.6 goals a game and being 5-0, right? Yes, it's all Connor McDavid. I get it. But the Canucks do have really good players in Elias Pettersson and Brock Besser. They have guys who can score, and the power play just needs to work better. And nothing has changed, right? We saw as Newell Brown left, we got that little glimmer of hope. We said, okay, new guy, maybe new system. Maybe, even if they're still doing the umbrella, maybe it'll be a little bit more active and they're going to stop having JT Miller try to force passes through the middle of the ice every time. Or have Elias Pettersson only require the absolute perfect pass before he'll shoot the puck. But it's been exactly the same. It has looked exactly the same. The only difference is they have a worse player on the ice in Alex Chason instead of Brock Besser. And it's just not working, and something needs to be adjusted. And
what's really interesting, you're right. It's the same personnel. It's a different coach, but the same structure. Too static, too predictable. We've talked about it before, how they just use the top 3 guys on the umbrella. They barely use Besser and Horvat or Chason and Horvat, whoever. But then the second unit gets on there, maybe because they only get 20 or 30 seconds, but they play with way more urgency. They actually they get the puck over the line easily, like way more easy than PP1. And they're passing, and then 2 passes, boom, shot, and actually a chance. And maybe truly it's because they only have 20 to 30 seconds to work with. But I love the way that PP2 plays, how direct they are. And they have more, quote, direct players, right? The Pearson, the Hoglanders, and the Garlands of the world. So who knows?
But do you not think that Elias Pettersson and JT Miller and Quinn Hughes can't play that style of hockey, right?
Yeah,
it doesn't. If they go out there and they're more run and gun and just trying to, they're just more skilled. There's better players, right? They should be able to do this same sort of thing instead of spending 27 seconds just getting the puck into the zone and then pass gets broken up and we got to start over. We gave it up at center ice again. Let's start over. And it's just all these back and forth and things just aren't working. I think, if they played more like power play 2, where it's just, gain the zone, make a pass, get a shot on net and try to do things, because sure, power play 1 probably gets better. Like the chances they do get are probably better because they're way more high percentage, but they also get a third of them because they're waiting for the absolute perfect play every time.
Yeah. And then whether, Corey Hirsch always likes to say he wants to see PD just grip it and rip it, right? And if a guy blocks it, well, he might not block it the next time because he's nursing a sore knee or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
So PD does look, he hesitates. JT Miller likes to control the puck, but he's not the fastest. He's a good decision maker mostly, but he's not the fastest. And then truly the bumper guy and the net front guy, they're just waiting until something happens.
I don't like it. It makes me frustrated because these are they get these power plays at crucial moments when it's like, okay, getting a goal right now would turn the tides of this game. It gives you so much momentum. You're going to get 4 of them a game, almost every game. If you can score on 1, good. But if you can get 2 of them, then that's really helping your chances at winning.
So what do you think they got to do differently? Just be more direct?
I think they got to be more active, more exciting. And speaking of exciting, Manscaped. Support for Canucks After Dark is brought to you by Manscaped, who's the best in men's below-the-waist grooming, the champions of the world. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels, and they just launched their 4th-generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer just for you, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code CAD at manscaped.com. Like I said, this is the lawnmower. It's a great trimmer. You can find it at the link right at the top of the description, pinned comment, all that good stuff. And it helps us out if you buy something from them and tell us that we sent you and it looks good on us. And you get a good trimmer in return. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code CAD at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code CAD. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. And I was supposed to have this on the screen while we talked about that, but there's your prompt, CAD, 20% off and free shipping.
Well, I can talk about it for a quick second to at least, make it worth it. Firstly, great read as always. Second, I didn't mean to interrupt it. I didn't know you were still going. And I think it's two things going forward for these episodes, Parker. I think the two things that I think the viewers are going to really enjoy. Number one is how do you segue into the ad? And you did that seamlessly today. And the second one is how long I can go without cracking, right? While you're reading it. So those are kind of like the two competing vibes, but good job. Mine is still here. I haven't opened mine yet. So
you're missing out. It's great.
If you let me know if you need a second one.
Okay.
For whatever reason.
And let's get into then the homestand coming up. Let's do a little preview here. And then, by the way, this is your prompt to get in your don't do that, get in your haikus, do all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Because we are right around that point. So let's touch on the homestand coming up for the Vancouver Canucks. 7 games in a row at home, 3 games before we see you next here on Canucks After Dark. We've got the home opener tomorrow. There's still tickets available. The Wild and the Canucks at 7 p.m. Then we got the Flyers on Thursday at 7 p.m. and then the Oilers on Saturday. Hockey night in Canada also 7 o'clock. Which of these games are you really looking forward to the home opener tomorrow? You get to see whatever the new on ice presentation is. Fans in the building for the first time in whatever it is, 18 months or something like that.
Looking forward to all 3 games for different reasons. I'm actually not going tomorrow. It's bowling night, Tuesday nights. So I'll be watching everything either on the screen or later. But home opener, I know they got a lot of cool things planned. I'm happy for my season ticket partner, Mike. And Minnesota Wild, they're a good team. They got some with Kaprizov and Fiala and others, Eriksson. They got some really good players. So that's going to be a good game. Thursday, we've already beaten Philly. So you think that's a winnable game. Not saying Tuesday night isn't. And then Edmonton. Man, it's kind of cool like that Edmonton has started well, and it would be great if we could knock them off their perch a little bit. So I think 2 of these 3 games are going to be challenging. We can't simply sit here and say the Canucks are going to win just because they're at home. I think the Minnesota Edmonton games will be challenging. Who knows what happens with Philly? So they're going to be competitive contests for sure.
Yeah. So if we look at this Wild game, the Wild are no longer the Minnesota Mild at this point, right? like they have been forever, right? They've been a very, frankly, boring team. But now, yeah, they have Kaprizov, they have Fiala, they have Eriksson, they have this high flying offense that, they do have a lot of dead cap on the books, but they are 4-1. However, someone did ask me on my post game a couple nights ago on Saturday night, are you worried about the Wild because they're 4-0? They're 4-1 now. And I said no, because look at their game so far. Their first game, they beat the Ducks 2-1. Then they beat the Kings 3-2. Then they beat the Jets 6-5 in OT. And then they beat the Ducks 4-3 in OT. And they just lost to the Predators. So they have all of their wins. They've won by 1 goal, 2 of them in overtime, all against bad teams, right? The Ducks, the Kings, the Jets. 3 teams that have not looked good thus far. And then they just went out and lost to the Predators, who are also, they were 1-4 going into that game as well. So I think the Wild are worse than their record so far. And I think it is, a really good chance for the Canucks to get 2 points at home opener, first time, like I said, in front of fans. The Canucks just did 4 home openers on the road or whatever it was. Now they get their own and hopefully a close to full house at Rogers Arena will get some excitement going for them.
Yeah. By the way, Parker, have you seen some of the attendance numbers from across the league? It's not good.
It's
not
been
good.
bad. Yeah, it's been pretty low. And we saw it. I mean, I mentioned that Buffalo game. It looked empty. But yeah, we have I think teams like Toronto not selling out, Chicago not selling out, a bunch
Rangers
of teams around the league
Yeah.
not selling out. It doesn't look like this game is sold out for the Canucks. I was looking at tickets because I might end up going. I haven't decided yet. But there's still tickets available for sure.
Wow. What are your odds handicap your odds of going tomorrow night?
I'd say like 60% that I'll go. I'll probably go. I just got to figure something out.
Nice. Very good.
And then, then they go and take on the Flyers on the Thursday. And if you remember that game against the Flyers back on October 15th, they won in a shootout 5-4. And it wasn't because they played great. It was because Carter Hart was terrible, right? The Canucks got kind of outplayed in this one. They score 4 goals in the second period against Philadelphia, and then they blew the lead late with the 2 late goals, and then they still salvaged it in a shootout because, again, Carter Hart was terrible. So hopefully, it won't be Carter Hart. Who is their other guy? How about Martin Jones? Much better.
Wow.
So, I mean, okay, well, I was going to say, it's a backup. The Canucks are fine. It's Martin Jones, though. So I'm not too concerned because he has been really bad for the last few years. And then the Canucks take on the Edmonton Oilers, who they lost to 3-2 in a shootout. And like I said, the Oilers are 5-0. Super dangerous power play. I think McDavid's on pace for like 150 points already. I think that will be the biggest test of this road trip. But if the Canucks can go out and beat Minnesota and beat Philadelphia, that game against the Oilers doesn't matter as much, right? If they can be sort of 2-1 to start the road trip, or 2-0-1 or whatever. Right. I think the Canucks should win 2 out of these next 3 games, and I think that would put them in an absolutely fine spot.
It would. I agree with you, taking 2 out of 3, but I would love it, honestly, if they lost one of the Minnesota or Philly ones so they could beat Edmonton, only from a standings perspective. But I hear what you're saying.
If they had to lose one, yes, but I'd rather not risk it. Let's get the 2 wins early.
And then after that, it's Rangers on Tuesday, Nashville Friday, right?
Yeah. So the Canucks are getting a lot of these 3-day break, 2-day gaps, right? So they had the one, they've gone basically from Saturdays to Tuesdays every time. And then they do the same thing. So they play the Oilers on the Saturday, then they have Sunday, Monday off, then the Rangers on the Tuesday, then they have Wednesday, Thursday off, and the Predators on Friday. So this has to mean the Canucks are going to have a lot of back-to-backs at some point, right?
Yes. And then just to wind up the 7-game homestand, then it's Dallas. And then who am I missing? Who's the last game?
Anaheim.
Okay. So here's my point then. You look at not just the 3 games of this week, although that's what we should preview. You look at these 7 games overall, you could say that Edmonton is probably the toughest. The Rangers are a very intriguing team. They're good. They got a lot of young, fast stars. And we kind of said that Minnesota might be challenging, but maybe not. We should beat Philly. We should beat Anaheim. We should beat Dallas, and we should beat Nashville. So realistically, we should at least get 4 of these 7, if not 5 or 6. And maybe that sounds a little bit optimistic, but you got to think like that for sure.
And these are more of those prove it games, right? We looked at the game against Chicago and they said, yep, this is a game that they should win if they're going to be a playoff team. They did. The game against the Kraken, they should win if they're going to be a playoff team. They did. The game against Buffalo, they should have, but you know what? They had an off night, whatever. But going into this, I think a playoff team wins 4 of these games, right?
Yes.
Whether, maybe the Wild, the Predators, the Ducks, and then one of the Rangers and Stars, right? They might, split those. But a playoff team should win 4. If they go like 4-2-1, I think that's fine. I think that's kind of where they should be. 4-3 is okay, but I'd like to see them try to gain a bit of ground, right? You don't want to be in the mix all season. If you can build up a bit of a buffer, give yourself a bit of a security blanket, I guess, right? If you can have like a 3-point lead after this road trip on a playoff spot or on this homestand in the playoffs, then that's a great place to be. You want to be ahead and not chasing, sort of control your destiny throughout the season. If they can take 5, then I think they're laughing.
You know who's not laughing, or maybe they are laughing? San Jose. What's up with them? Like it's Edmonton, San Jose, and Calgary, and us. Those are the 4 playoff teams right now.
Yeah, San Jose is doing some weird stuff. I don't know why. I mean, some of the teams they played, again, they beat Montreal, who has looked so bad. They
Very
beat
bad.
Ottawa, which they should. They beat the Maple Leafs, who are collapsing in front of our eyes. And they lost to the Bruins, but that's fine. But yeah, the Sharks 3-1, and they're trying to make a push and at least be middle of the division if they can, which I don't think any of us saw coming. I think San Jose was going to sort of be in that hole with maybe Seattle and LA way down in the dumps there, but they're off to a hot start.
Wow. Yeah. Well, one of those three California teams ultimately got to be okay. They don't have to be awesome, but yeah, I thought it was gonna be LA though, but it's still early. I think that's the one thing we got to remember. Yeah.
All right, let's get into our don't do that's for the week. If you don't know what this is, for those of you who are new here, hit like and subscribe, by the way. This is where we basically, tell us what you shouldn't do. Clay, do you have any examples maybe to go off of so far?
Yeah, it's funny. I was watching them and now I forgot all of them, but ultimately, playing Chase on over Besser on PP1. Don't do that.
That's the perfect one. Yes.
Don't do that.
And then we also had Time for Hockey saying, playing Chase on over Podkolzin. Don't freaking do that. Like, please, Green, I'm begging you.
Well, that's a very adamant don't do that. I like that.
I didn't look at the lines, but Podkolzin's not playing tomorrow, right?
No, he was in today, actually.
Oh, really?
Was in today, yeah.
So are you saying Travis Green's going to change the lineup after a win?
It's hard to believe.
That seems impossible.
But it was interesting. Dowling did not practice today, and Dickinson left early.
Yeah. Okay, I did hear about that. So looking at the lines that came through today, we had Pearson, Horvat, Garland, Lotto line, Highmore, Dickinson, Hoaglander. But like you said, Dickinson left early. Yeah. And then Podkolzin, Lamico, Chason, which does have Dowling on the outside, which is surprising because I thought Dowling's been good. I would sooner see someone like Lamico come out, although then you need another center, but I guess Highmore can move around. I don't know. Or I'd rather see Chason come out over Dowling, to be honest, at this point, because he has been impressive. And then the other thing that gets interesting here, and I guess we'll talk about this after the don't do that. So let's go back to the don't do that.
Right. What's interesting too, if Dickinson did leave early, and let's say he's not ready to go tomorrow night for whatever reason, then Travis Green likely puts Miller as third line center, right? And then it messes everything up.
Maybe, unless he's really trying to get Pettersson going. Although then you could move like Hoaglander up or Garland down or something and make something work, because I think they want Pettersson with players that are going to support him. Like a Miller and Besser, or with a Garland or something like that, or Hoaglander, so that he can hopefully. I think Pettersson just needs a 2-goal night, and then he's just good, right? Like he'll just be fine after that.
Okay, we'll say it's tomorrow night then. Absolutely.
Let's grab a couple of these.
I like Quattrobs. Yeah.
That's Alex Chase on PP1. Don't do that. Quattrobs giving up goals near the end of a period. Stop/don't do that. This is a thing that's actually just it feels like it always happens to the Canucks, but I think it's also just common around the NHL. I think if you look at most periods, they kind of do sort of like a dip in the middle, and towards the end of the period there's more scoring usually. But yeah, it's super deflating. And the Canucks have allowed a lot of first goals this season as well, which hasn't hurt them as much as it probably should. But yeah, that Vince Dunn goal can be a bit of a heartbreaker, but it's still worked out.
I don't know if you can find Will Ells from 10:36 p.m. Those like 5 minutes up, but it's pretty funny. It says, staring down Garland. Don't do that. Well, actually, do that if you want to make him mad and make him score on you. But
that was I love that. I love that little interaction. The fact that someone made him mad and he's like, all right, I'll just go out and do it all myself and score a sick goal to win the game. And just sort of welcome Seattle to the NHL.
Yeah. Did you see him at the start of the game? He's so shifty and he does so many of these pivots and turns that he actually checked himself in the boards. I'm not sure you saw that. He fell into the boards.
That, but that doesn't surprise me.
Very impressive. That's like me in roller hockey, except I don't score. Yeah.
Let's see if there's any other ones that I wanted to grab here. Sorry, we went so long between the call for them and and actually reading them that it gets easy to miss them. Dan Boston saying not getting the puck out of the zone. Don't do that. Yeah, that has been a real thing for the Canucks. I noted that in my post game. I think it's Buffalo. That they've been doing so much of here. I'll see if I actually have it. No, it wasn't in that game. But either way, they've done like so many occurrences where they just need to get the puck 6 feet farther, right? They try to make the extra pass or just a weak clearing attempt. Sometimes you just got to go off the glass and out, right? Just get it over the blue line, and then everything's okay. So I think that's definitely a solid one there.
And isn't that the one? That's what you're saying when PD had that tough shift. There was a time where he was right between the dots, right? And if
he just flips it in the air, right? Flips it 10 feet in the air to center, right? Everything's fine. But just trying to do too much. And that's been, kind of a theme so far.
Damanveer is good. Scratching Podkolzin. Don't do that. So 2 out of the first 6 games. Parker, are you worried about it? Are you okay with it? What's your take on this?
I can see why people are frustrated, and a lot of it is because of who's replacing him, because it's a guy like Alex Chiasson who's kind of been a whipping boy so far this season, kind of a scapegoat. But I don't hate the idea of it, right? I mean, look, he's only going to play 8-9 minutes a night, anyways. And I'm not too worried about it, right?
Yeah.
The Canucks have a lot of this, sort of bottom 6 depth. They're going to get him in the lineup. We saw it here. They put him back into the lineup for this practice, whether it holds or not. If Dowling were to come back in tomorrow, we'll see. Yeah. But I'm not too worried about it. I'd be more worried about it if he played terribly. I don't think he's played excellent. I don't think he's really stood out, but he hasn't been bad. So if that was the case, then I'd be like, man, Podkolzin doesn't look good. We got to send him, get him game time in the AHL. That hasn't been the case. He's looked fine. And so I think, if he's just getting more practice time and a little less time on the ice, I mean, like the 9 minutes of ice time isn't going to be what changes his career arc and development. So I'm not too worried about it.
And Epic Nair, this is for you, Vasiliev's Podslovins.
Yes, saying butchering Podkolzin's name. Don't do that. All right, let's go. Justin calling out the costs. So $7 for a can of Aquafina at the Kraken Arena. These are right in line with like Seahawks prices. From if you go to games there, you're spending like $12 on a Bud Light for like the regular size one. Seattle is an expensive city. That is for sure.
Wow, that's ridiculous.
All right, next thing we want to talk about. This is sort of the bigger topic that came up earlier today, and we were going to get to it earlier, but we went over the games and all this stuff. So let's get to it now while we have the most people here. So Travis Hamonic, is he coming back? This is courtesy of Matt Sakaris of Sakaris and Price. And he says, quote, it was an audio clip, which isn't great. But basically he is saying that it sounds like Travis Hamonic is going to be coming back to Vancouver, whether or not that includes a conditioning stint in Abbotsford at some point. I found the tweet here. It was JPAD who actually tweeted out. Matt Scaris reporting that Canucks Travis Hamonic is in town or will be on his way shortly with the intention of resuming his NHL career, may require a conditioning stint in Abbotsford first. So this shakes things up, right? Let's say Travis Hamonic does come back, and it's probably not for tomorrow, but let's say he enters the lineup on Saturday, right? Maybe he goes, plays like Friday night in Abbotsford as sort of a conditioning game, maybe also Saturday night in Abbotsford, and then starts on Tuesday the next week or something like that. This shakes up the defense. What do you think? What do you think about that if that happens?
You bring him in. If he's ready, you bring him in. You're paying him. What are we paying him? $3 million this year, right?
$3 million, yep.
You bring him in over Kyle Burroughs. As good as Burroughs has been, Burroughs is still a third pairing defenseman. Someone could argue Hamonic's a third pairing defenseman, but you bring Hamonic in, and then you figure out, do you move Pullman down to play with Rathbone, which could work, so that Hamonic can play with Hughes, or do you ease Hamonic in with Rathbone, who plays a little bit like Hughes and not exactly the same, and keep Oliel and Myers together, who've been just fine. Hughes and Pullman have been serviceable, and go Rathbone, Hamonic. But there's no doubt in my mind when Hamonic's ready, you get him in the lineup because he's simply a better player than Burrows, as good as Burrows has been for his role.
So we like Kyle Burrows,
Yeah.
and he would be the one that comes out of the lineup, which means you then have 9 defensemen on the roster if Travis Hamonic comes back, meaning you have to waive somebody, and your 3 options then become Kyle Burrows, Brad Hunt, and Luke Shen. One of them has to go through waivers. Who's your pick in that case?
Wow. It's weird. You think Burrows has the best chance to get through?
I don't know. I don't think he does. I think he has the worst chance to get through, honestly.
Because of how good he's been in the last
Because he's
little
been good and he's young,
Yeah.
right? He's not super young. He's 26.
Okay.
But I mean, you compare that to like Hunter Shen, and I think, I don't know. I just feel like Hunter Shen, they're just kind of guys that like every other team has already sort of had a chance at. I think it's tricky. But I think Kyle Burrows has been good enough to stay on the roster. Because I do think he would be more likely to get claimed. And from what we've seen, he's more valuable to the Canucks right now than a Hunt or a Shen is, because he's playing games and he's actually been good. He's shown some chemistry with Rathbone. And it's kind of a sticky situation here.
Actually, that's a good point. I think if this was later in the season, then maybe you, for whatever reason, if this was later in the season, you try and waive Hunter Shen, maybe someone picks him up for playoff insurance or whatever. That actually, but you're right. The fact that they haven't the fact they haven't really cracked the Canucks lineup in the first 6 games, that's not really signaling these guys are very valuable. So,
and it's not like this is a great defense it's not like it's like, oh, the defense is too good that Brad Hunt couldn't make the lineup, right?
Yeah.
That's
a good point.
So lots of people in the chat are saying Hunt, Brad Hunt. Manan saying doubt any teams are claiming Hunter Shen, and that is sort of where I'm falling. But I think Hunt might be your guy.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say Hamonic does come back. How would you line up the 6D men then?
Well, I don't know. It gets tricky, right? Because you have to do some juggling. So if we're saying Burrows comes out of the lineup, that leaves Rathbone's spot open. However, we've seen Hamonic and Hughes in the past. I don't know. It's a real tricky one. So how do they practice today? I just want to pull this up. So it was OEL Myers, Hughes Poolman, and Rathbone Burrows. So you could then, if Burrows comes out, you put Hamonic in, you could move Poolman down with Rathbone. I think they're going to keep OEL and Myers together. Would be my instinct. So you could go Hughes, Hamonic, Rathbone, Poolman, maybe as an option.
Yeah, I would do that. I would do that unless somehow Hamonic needs to be brought up to speed. But that's what the whole conditioning stint is for. If he's ready to go, I think you try him with Hughes, and I think you move Poolman down to. And I'm not just saying because the salaries are pretty similar, right? Poolman makes 2.5. So we don't value guys just based on salary, because technically you could argue that Tyler Myers is the highest paid third pairing D-man around, but he's playing well, and that's why he's playing with OEL in the top pairing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Myers and OEL are going to stay. And it really comes down to, is Travis Green more worried about keeping guys together to build chemistry, in which case it would just be a 1-for-1 swap, or is he thinking, let's try to build some fresh chemistry, put our best group together that we can. That's something we'll have to see. And I would assume, he's not going to play tomorrow. I would highly doubt. I think he'd probably get a couple of AHL games in and a couple of practices in, because he didn't get a training camp, right? He didn't get a preseason. He's missed the first 6 games of the season. You'd think, go to Abbotsford, play. I think they play twice this weekend. I think they play Friday, Saturday. Get in both of those games, play 20 minutes in each of those games, and then, come in for like Tuesday against the Rangers, Friday against the Predators, something like that. Get a few practices under the belt as well.
Here's one more reason why I think you do put Hamonic with Hughes. We've already talked about their familiarity, but if that doesn't work, then you can go back to Hughes Poolman, which we've seen work for 5 of these 6 games, right? Because Hughes missed one of them, and that's okay. That's okay. At least you can go back. Now you've tried it. That's an option. But I think the familiarity, to me, that's the reason why you put Hamonic with Hughes, I think.
I think that is fair, and I think lots of people sort of agree in the chat here. But yeah, I definitely I like that. So if we are the coaches, our decision is we are putting Travis Hamonic in the lineup for Kyle Burrows. We're moving Pullman down with Rathbone. We're moving Hamonic up with Hughes to sort of rekindle what happened last year, and then we are waiving either Brad Hunt or Luke Shen, whichever is more likely to get through at that point.
Yeah, perhaps so Blue Moon's not a fan. He says Clay clearly doesn't know as much as Parker. Well, that's fine. I'll take that.
That's just wrong though. But okay.
Blue Moon doesn't also like my laugh, but that's okay. I'm just a happy guy.
Francisco then says trade Hamonic.
Oh,
I don't think you're getting anything for him. I think he's a lot more valuable in the Canucks lineup than he is getting a 6th round pick or whatever you'd get for him, if you'd even get that because of his salary requirements at this point.
Yeah, and the fact that no one picked him up on waivers in the first place.
Yeah.
Why would a team give up assets to get him now when they could have had him in essence for free for the cost of his salary?
Right. Absolutely. All right. One thing I wanted to start doing because we get this pushed quite a bit. The Abbey update. The Abbotsford Canucks have been playing hockey games, and we would like to just give you a quick recap of what they have done over the past week. And their website is not great, so it is kind of tough to do that. But let's see. Over the last week, they played. Wait, it doesn't even show the scores on here. It's just a schedule.
What?
This website's atrocious. Sorry, I can't even tell you what's happened.
Are you sure you're on the real website?
I am. I'm on abbotsford.canucks.com. Wow. You can't even see like their games that they've played. You can only see the last one.
Wow.
All right. Well, they won yesterday. Sealov's got a shutout. They won 3-0. We've had a couple Klimovich goals. We've had a bunch of good stuff. Abbotsford's doing good. I think they are, I don't know, like 3-1-1 or something like that.
Yeah, in their home opener, they won in overtime as Madison Bowie goal, so that was nice. And then they followed that up with the Sealov shutout. So that's pretty good start. How many games have they played?
I think they played 5.
Okay.
I think they're 3-1-1 if I'm not mistaken. So they're off to a great start.
Okay. That's good. I want to get out there. I haven't done it yet, obviously, but
so they are 3-1-1. I was right. Yeah. So they over the last week, I've got it now. They've played 3 games. They played on Tuesday in Ontario, California, lost 4-3 in overtime. Then they won 3-2 on Friday and 3-0 last night. The Sealovs shutout and goalie controversy, maybe in Abbotsford. DiPietro Sealovs might be something to monitor there.
So they have 5 out of 6 points already.
They have
2 wins in a thing.
6 out of 10.
Oh,
7.
sorry.
They have 7
They
points.
played 5. They played 5 times already.
They're 3-1-1. Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't listening for that part. Sorry.
That's all good. All right. Do we want to go to the people?
Sure. Let's go to the people.
All right. We only have a couple minutes, so fire in some questions. We can go a couple minutes over if need be. We usually do. So give us your questions. I don't know. It's late.
We'll be ready for them. We'll just, as soon as they come up, as long as they're appropriate, we will answer it, and
we are ready. Coach Rob said maybe the AHL site has the scores. That is where I found them. Yes, because the Abbotsford Canucks site does not.
And we'll go fast. Parker and I will commit to quick
predictions for tomorrow's game.
Answers.
Predictions. Tomorrow's game.
4-2.
You're gonna say 4-2. Yep, I knew
it.
Okay. I'm gonna say 3-2 because it's a more common score.
Okay. Edmund.
Are you shocked how Corey Schneider's career has turned out once he left Vancouver? I would say so. Yeah, he fell off. Yeah. Canucks won the trade 2013.
Yes, Bo Horvat.
Yes. We already kind of talked about Burrows. Clay, what's your schedule this week?
Oh,
because Coach Robsey is looking forward to my post game shows. I guess Clay, yours will be at 11?
Tuesday night I can't because bowling and my church hour, and Thursday and Saturday I'm at the game, so maybe not just my regular Wednesday stream. I don't think I'll be doing any post game streams, just recaps, whatever the word is. Yeah.
Time for
Thank
Rocky
you.
saying, should I buy an Abby Canucks Klimovich jersey? That would be pretty sweet. If so, home or away, you got to get the green one, right?
Yes, got to go home. Always home. Sorry,
Always
not
home.
always home, but to start off home.
Yeah, you got to at least have a green one in your arsenal.
Mhm.
Was the road trip successful? Asked Fangirl.
For me, yes. You come back over 500, 583,
It
7 out
was
of 12 points.
It was bare minimum successful for me, but it was a C, and that works. Who gets more points, Elias Pettersson or Conor Garland? Conor Garland has a 5-point advantage already.
Oh man! According to our predictions, we both had PD at around the 80 mark and Garland around the 60 mark.
Yep.
Oh,
And I still stick with Garland around 60. Pettersson's making me nervous.
I think
it'll be tight.
I'm gonna say PD by a hair.
I am too.
Yeah.
All right. Scrolling.
Actually, can you put up Shannon's? That's a good question. I can answer it real quick. Shannon, your active roster is 23 players, 2 goalies, and some combination of 13 forwards, 8D, or 14 forwards, 7D. Anything more than 23, they cannot be on your active roster. You got to get them down to the farm. And if they played a certain number of games or a certain number of years, you have to waive them, give other people a chance to get them. If they're rookies or in their first 3 years, you don't have to waive them. You can bring them up and down as much as you can. But 23 is the healthy body maximum.
Perfect.
Thank you.
This has been a bit of discourse going around online right now. Lots of people already taking victory laps on the Garland OEL trade 6 games in and being like, oh, wow, yeah, Garland and we got Garland and OEL and we gave up 3 bad contracts. It's like, oh, okay, you're just going to ignore the first overall or the first round pick, the second round pick, the 7th round pick, like all these other things. So do you think they won the trade at this point?
I think this is where you're going with it, Parker. It's a little early to say for sure, but you got to like at least the immediate results. We don't know what Dylan Gunther is going to turn out to be.
Right.
But when you look at the money, it's basically 8 of Ekman Larsson and 5 of Garland for the 12 we shipped out, 13 versus 12. And our 2 players are a lot better than the 3 that went out. You got to be happy with the early returns. That's for sure.
Yeah. The Canucks, it's always been a short-term trade, right? So it better be good right now because the risk of the contract or the risk of the trade was Oliver Ekman Larsson's contract, right? If that ages poorly, then the trade is tough for the Canucks, especially if they're not competitive over the next couple of years. But that's sort of our summary there, I think.
Mm-hmm. Love it. I saw Melissa's. I'm just giggling.
I was saying Clay clearly knows more than Parker. I love it.
That's not true either. We're equal.
This one's just for you. All you can eat sushi or all you can eat dim sum?
I say you dim some, you lose some. You got to go with the all you can eat sushi for sure. Every single day of the week.
That's a great quote.
Thank you.
If you had to buy a jersey excluding the core 4, who would you pick?
You first.
Höglander, obviously.
Okay. I'm going Garland or Demko.
Oh, I forgot about Garland. Demko was my first thought, and then I went to Höglander. But yeah, Garland will be a great one. I might have to do that.
I almost bought Nate Schmidt last year. Thank goodness I didn't. Wow.
That would be rough. He's got 5 points already.
I did not know that.
I think we're good.
Okay.
Are we good? Do we have I like this last one from C Edits. Which Canuck has the best chance of winning an NHL award? Let's say for this season. Who's got the best odds at any award?
I'll start. Maybe we're the same. Demko Vezina. Yeah, Demko Vezina, not Demka Vezino. Yeah, Demka's going to win the Vezino.
Yeah, I mean it's the only one that's reasonable, right? They're not going to win the Art Ross, the Ted Lindsay, the Richard, the Selke. Like those ones are kind of locked up already.
Not even
right?
the Norris. Yeah.
The Norris, they're not going to win the Norris unless Quinn Hughes goes insane and puts up like 80 points, but I doubt it. And then what do you have left? It's just like the Vezina, right?
Coach of the year.
Coach of the year. Yeah, I'm sure Canucks Twitter is going to love that.
I think Demko for the Vezina is probably our best.
Podkolzin Calder, Klimovich Calder, last moment.
Oh, that's a hot take for sure. Yeah.
Yes. Jim Benning for GM of the year. What if the Canucks let's say the Canucks get second in the division, Garland has 75 points and OEL has 45. That could happen.
I think that's great. I'm not sure that's going to win him GM of the year though.
It might. Their GM of the year is a weird trophy. All right, we'll wrap it up there. We're going to root for that, though. Jim Benning, GM of the year. Thank you guys very much for hanging out with us. If you want more from us, I do a post-game show after every Canucks game. Maybe not tomorrow, we'll see, but I'll try. And Clay does live streams twice a week, videos every day. You can find me at ParkersPucks, him at Canuck Clay, YouTube, Twitter, all that you guys know how to find us at this point. It's all linked in the description. Check out Manscaped for sponsoring us. Thank you guys very much. And Clay, any parting words for the night?
Well, if you get to the game, enjoy. It'd be kind of cool if you went on Tuesday and then I'll go Thursday, Saturday. So Canucks After Dark will have the 3 first games covered. Pretty cool.
Someone in attendance at all times.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Fake media.
Yeah, well, it's too late now. You got to do 48 hours to apply, but
okay.
We'll try. We'll try later. Anyways, that's it for us. Thank you guys very much for watching. Hit the like button, hit subscribe. If you missed any part of the show, you can rewind here on YouTube. You can find it on your favorite podcast platform, and go give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts because it helps us out, and lets more people find the show, which is great. Thank you guys very much, and we will see you later on the week.